This is part 1 of my interviews from the AI4Devs conference.
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.
On September 19th, the first AI4Devs conference took place in Amsterdam. I grabbed my camera and microphone to talk with speakers and attendees about the revolution in AI-powered coding and application development. In this first part, we'll explore Spring libraries, security infrastructure and scaling, real-world use cases, event streaming, JetBrains tools, and more. I asked all my guests the same opening question. What's your name and what brings you to this conference? Let's get started.
My name is Tzolov. As Josh, we're part of the Spring team. I'm co-lead for the Spring AI project.
My name is Josh. I work on the Spring team. Lucky enough to serve my friend Christian and the rest of the team in my capacity as a Spring developer advocate. And I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Developer as well. I mean, as he pointed out, the chat client abstraction is a great story. Maybe to take more than 20 minutes to tell the story with Aaron, how it happens. I love it. Yeah, it happens here in Amsterdam. We're trying to find a proper abstraction. We spent a week here in Amsterdam. He flew from New York here to work on this. We came with some API. We were happy, and suddenly Josh come around and say, "Okay, it's not bad, but it's really out-fashioned one." And not surprisingly, the chat client has very similar vibe now, like because of all of us. And so actually after this trip, Josh started drafting the API, and that's how it comes. So all this kind of collaboration and ideas and stuff, without him and our other guys, it wouldn't be what it is today. So
pleasure.
And that's amazing part of this.
And that's how these open source things grew.
Yeah,
love it.
And you're also a coder in airports, in hotels. That's where you do the best work.
Because you get all this. That, or I listen to books, right? But you get this incredible. I mean, how often do you get 10 hours of complete time with no interruptions except for coffee and bathroom?
And I enjoy the same thing.
Right.
And also changing the environment sometimes can really have a good, refreshing...
you've got an office window with a view looking on the sky.
Okay. You gave an opening talk today. You were very happy with the talk. Nobody died.
Yeah.
What's the main topic that you're talking about today?
Well, I work on the Spring team, as we mentioned, and that's an enterprise Java technology. Some people may have heard of it. And this is an AI conference. And my point was that Java is in a uniquely amazing position here in the AI space. We have an opportunity that has never been, nobody has this opportunity, right? We can take the enterprise, the business logic that runs the enterprise, that runs the world, that's written in Java, and then extend it with these AI capabilities. And, I can't think of an easier way to do it than with Spring AI. But the point is that we can do it. That this is an opportunity. If we as Java programmers don't reach out and grab this opportunity, it's going to be a waste. We have to.
And I'm amazed how fast things are moving. 2 years ago there was no AI.
Yeah.
Now we have
3 years.
Now we have Spring AI. We have MCP.
Yeah.
Isn't that the strength of the Java community?
Yes.
That you have all these people pushing this forward?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've never been as busy as with the Spring AI project. And you can see even the chart of the stars and on GitHub repository, the tons of PR we cannot process. So it's a really blame on us and issue. So it is. I've never seen on the Spring as a part of Spring projects as vibrant one. That's bit now. MCP came as something small. We started to working on it because it was very important as an integration capability to let you connect Java to any other one, and vice versa. You can actually write anything, and then there is no this schisma to use a single platform. It's kind of interoperable. But again, it started with something small. We make the first release. You contributed. And it's keeping me busy. Yesterday, actually, I had to miss the dinner because I was making MCP Java release. So it is, and the community is asking you because we had partners, enterprise partners. Say, you have to make the release because we have actually blocking production product that actually. So it's not dinner. So
Life of a developer.
I've never been as busy and with this, and I love it. So that's a strange combination. I'm not sure my wife can actually share the same experience because it takes a lot of toe on this bits. But it's been a journey. And when we talk about the Java, I really like the idea about the integration part. If you think about it, it is if you want to use generative AI and something like this, you need to solve a couple of problems. Memory, as we saw. You would like to make the generative AI, which is frozen in the past, stateless, aware of your data in order to be useful and aware of your APIs using tool calling. So if you solve these three problems at the very low level, you can make the generative AI useful for almost any domain. And guess what? Java and Spring AI and Spring are perfect for this solving this type of integration. They've been solving the Java has been solving integration problem in the enterprise for 30 years now. So it's very good, and practically it's very good mixture about this.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm now very familiar, and I think most people, what you can do with AI is you can have these chat interfaces. What is the MCP offering?
So if you start building AI application, normally you would have to connect the AI to LLM, all this orchestration, prompt engineering with very little engineering part inside. But very good principles. And then you have to add the capabilities. I mean, the generative AI and or your AI application is very useless if it cannot interact with environment. So in order to interact with environments, AI models already had this concept of tool calling, and which we demonstrate. So you can actually build this stuff, but anytime as an AI application developer, if you want to build, you really have to take care and to build these connectors to this external world. Anytime you build your applications, you cannot really reuse these capabilities. And MCP, Model Context Protocol, is the context stands for managing the context that gets in your prompt, aims to solve this problem, to provide unified, standardized access for any AI application to the external resources, prompts, it goes beyond tools. This practically provides you a standardized, interoperable way for your AI application to connect to external resources, and it naturally creates two communities developers. Server side, you as a server developer, you're familiar with your enterprise service APIs. You can build a very tiny shell around these bits because you know your internal APIs. You don't know anything about LLM and details, but you still can build this small shell around your enterprise and make your existing service accessible through LLM and AI. So this is the one community. Then you have the AI application developers, as I mentioned. Now those guys do not have to care about implementing these capabilities up front as a part of their application. They very easily can connect to desired selected application with small clients into their applications, and they can do this at start time. And even better, the MCP is bidirectional real-time application. It can change the list of tools, list of stuff. So even at the runtime, your application can get enriched with additional tools and stuff without. So now the application developers is not concerned to build the details and know how these backend services work in order to connect to them. He just can opt and configure this. And so this is the premise that MCP provides. And that's why I think it's so popular, because it creates this kind of distinction between two developer group, and they complement each other.
So if I'm developer of a backend service that manages the orders of the company, the MCP answers the question like, how many orders did we get yesterday? Is that something that you would ask an MCP?
Okay, so that's an interesting question, because it very often people get confused with MCP and REST APIs, Swagger, and all this GraphQL stuff. They say, okay, why I have these API servers? Why I cannot expose this directly as an MCP server? And the answer is, my understanding, my opinion is that it's a wrong approach to map one-to-one. The MCP abstraction is the gateway for this backend server to the LLM. You're trying to provide, usually it's high cross-grain, so it uses the backend APIs, but it tries to provide a service that you indeed expect your user to interact with LLM. One of those is, for example, to provide certain account questions. So then you're building, and this is one of the ways. So you're exposing some subset to access to the backend service, up to the expectation and desire that you would like the LLM to be able to interact. So this is this bridge, and it's unified because you can write this in Python and JavaScript and stuff, and then use it from Java, JavaScript, Python, .NET. So this is kind of this is another very beautiful thing. It kind of breaks the boundaries across the different bits. So, but indeed, and then you can combine multiple different services, and then practically it adds a lot of capabilities to stuff.
One of the things I love about what MCP is it's a simple protocol. It's not that simple, but it's a protocol, and it is something you can scale out in a consistent way. So it doesn't matter what the thing behind it is, right? And because we have the ability to scale out services these days, now you can actually scale out your AI capabilities, right? With as you scale out these services. I know that's an obvious point, but it's a protocol. It's a stateless. It can be stateful, but it's a stateless protocol.
Actually, it's mostly stateful, but it can be stateless with the latest fix. So this is which is very beneficial for scaling.
What are the real use cases you see now? Are people moving on from experimenting to using this in production, and what kind of use cases do you see there?
Around what? Around AI?
Yeah.
My goodness, what aren't they doing? So I don't know. I mean, it's sort of, you've got the chat model. That's the the obvious thing. But for me, I think there's a lot of just using it to sort of intervene quickly in an automatic thing where humans might have otherwise, or the service would fail, right? I feel like it's very useful to have it as a backstop, obviously. And then, of course, as you start to get more sophisticated use cases, people are building these sort of agentic workflows, right? And that is you just put these chat clients, these models, in a flow, If you can orchestrate them, you can get more interesting results than if you just did one-shot requests. And that's, I think, the next frontier.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm this dev guy sitting behind the scene, so you're not exposed that much. I really love to, but because it's very vibrant community, you can't. You tend to hear about someone is using it in that and the other question. So people have been using Spring AI in production before it was GA release, which was scary for me. But they were doing it, and they were coping without breaking changes we're constantly introducing, which was painful. But
before it was GA.
Before it was GA, people are using it for various production reasons. I don't. I know some enterprise companies, but I don't think I can share the names about this. But they're using. I can share one interesting fact. The first time I heard people using enterprise Spring AI in production was with banks. And it was bank industry, and I was really surprised. I always assumed that this is very conservative environment, but they had a very clever use case for this. They're using it for internal, for example, chat clients for the customer supports. So practically they were building these internal environments, not facing the end users, which provides some sort of security and sense. And they could benefit from this. And so,
Do you remember the migration to the digital office, the Xerox, no paper? Zero paper office, right? And for years, we spent time digitizing analog workflows, right? And so the goal was to get these existing things, but on computers, right? It wasn't there's a compounding effect. Once everything is digital, now you can build things out of those atoms that you could not build before, right? That were not possible. But you can't get there until everything is digitized. And I think right now, how do we get, what can we AI-ify? What workflows can we take that are now and make them just sort of driven as much as possible, or at least augmented heavily via AI? And then once we've got that, now you start looking in the compounding effect, and that's going to be the next wave, I imagine.
Workflows are patterns. And pattern matching, finding patterns in workflows is exactly what AI can do. So there is definitely a combination there. What can we look forward to? So the release of the MCP?
That one, M2.
And what Josh mentioned, the big story is agentic workflows and stuff. And there is different way how to achieve this. We already have some groundwork based this, but being Spring framework, we are working from ground up. So we're trying to build a basic, boring
all the blocks,
box rather than trying to jump. And so the next level we are working right now is what are the missing building blocks within the agentic, if you define, so one important part of the agentic, we have, I can argue that we have almost everything. I've been implementing and playing with the Spring AI to implement various agentic workflows to stuff. You have one more important component is some kind of agentic loop. This is practically the ability for single agent or multi-agent system to iterate, introspect its response, decide what it is received, and with the help of the advisors, now we have a prototype looping advisor that would allow you to do this thing. So again, these small building blocks. The premise I'm looking for is that you should be able to have all components to build. Anyone points you to some agentic workflow, okay, I can build it for a day with Spring AI just because I can stitch together all this.
Everything.
Because there is no single agentic framework.
Something on the Spring AI side that we can expect in the near future?
Well, I showed the old approach to building MCP services today. Come to his talk later today
see
to
the
learn
new
about a much
Yeah, we
cleaner.
introduce now annotations for MCP to try to make it a little bit more
easy to develop.
Idiomatic and natural.
idiomatic, yeah. So it is just a declarative layer to sugar on top of what we already have. And our colleagues from the Spring Security team, Daniel, is working day and night. So very soon he's going to present the OAuth full support within the MCP as well, with the Spring Security support. So with all this detail, it's very tricky space to evolve, but we work hard. So the idea is that MCP Java, the core MCP Java SDK, just provided small hooks. There is a tension to push the OAuth implementation inside the SDK, so we're trying to push this back because this is not typical for Java ecosystem, but it is apparently the way how the Python and JavaScript SDK did this stuff. So they really dumped the whole implementation, which is scary for me, but that's how. And it's very hard to argue that that's not the right. But what's interesting, the .NET community has the same problem with Java because I think it shares the same organization.
Going to the same growth.
Yes, closely. So pluggability is very important. But having said this, so we have provided the basic hooks inside the SDK, so everyone can build on top of. Of course, Daniel, he built hooks for on top of this hook for Spring Security, and this is coming. So he actually is going to present this in DevOps, and this is another thing that I cannot wait to see it as a fully because it's been a very frequent and request from the enterprise.
The R&D work for that has been because the spec has changed so much. It's not like the R&D. We already have full OAuth support, and we already have Spring AI. How hard could it be to get these things to be together? No, it's the spec. It keeps changing. So Daniel Gagnimaro and Joe Granja and the rest of the Spring Security team and the Spring AI teams,
everyone is
and the MCP Java. All of us working together.
And special thanks also. The other maintainer of the SDK is Darius, our colleague. He's a maintainer for the Reactor project as well, and the protocol is very involving because of this bidirectionality implemented on top of SSC. This is server-sent events and stuff. So it's kind of currently it has a lot of dynamicity. So the Reactor is and his expertise is invaluable to implement this week. So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, my name is Brian Vermeer. I work for Sneak as a developer advocate / engineer. And my stuff that I normally do is looking at Java, AI, and the cross-reference with security, because a whole lot of things can go wrong.
And how do they get wrong? Are we looking at authentication or coming up with answers who are not related to the question or the product companies are selling?
Yep, I think all of them, all of the above. Authentication and authorization is obviously a thing, but I think in most cases the problem that we're now having with AI infused applications is that people forget their basics. As in, normally if you have a front end, you probably check whatever comes into your back end. People tend to forget that now there is AI involved. They also don't look at what's coming out. So input validation, output validation, what could possibly go wrong? And it's getting more difficult because it used to be quite easy, as in you put some sort of regex in and you can filter things out. Now we can use natural language into an AI or an LLM, and we can work around it with different phrasing and that kind of stuff. So these kind of things that we normally already needed to do are now exposed as well when you are infusing your application with LLMs or any other AI.
And aren't they very hard to solve? I was experimenting with a tool that checks the documentation of Azul to answer Java-related questions, but you could still ask Python questions, which the tool cannot answer. So how can we prevent this? Are there tools available, libraries? Is it just checking some words or preventing it to answer some words?
It's a very good question, and there is no clear answer to that. I cannot give you the, do this and you're done. There are a bunch of things. First of all, if you use an LLM that is generally trained on general purpose answers, it will try to help you. So you have to put in guardrails. Making sure that your LLM only answers the stuff that you want to answer. For instance, a very strict system message makes sense. Having input guardrails and output guardrails that check if your if the input is valid and maybe come up with something like, hey, I only answer Java questions. So if you come up with a Python answer, we are not the authority to talk about that. But also think about what kind of other stuff is infused in that answer. Because if you look at an LLM from an API point of view, an LLM is nothing more than an API call, and it's stateless. If I call an LLM from Anthropic, from OpenAI, from anyone, even on my own machine, Olama, it's a stateless thing. So everything is bound to the request. The context, maybe the stuff from your documentation, where we use reg to only have the stuff in it, maybe a chat history. That's all part of that same request. So these are all attack factors. So if I can poison your reg, I can make sure that your LLM changes the answer into something that might be out of policy or out of the scope that you wanted. If I can infuse a previous chat history with some weird statements, it tries to act upon that. Then is the question, what kind of model are you using? So there are so many different aspects of that can happen. And then next to that is like, okay, if you have that model and it's just answering, that is okay. Then it's just text. But what if that model can also execute tools autonomously? If the tools are yourself, you can interfere with that. You can check. When do you want that? Is it the right person that logged in, for instance, that does that? Delete this user from. That's probably not something that is like logged in as a anonymous user, right? And then we even have more with MCPs that we actually don't know. We just make a call and we have no clue what's happening on the other side. So these are all things that we need to think about as developers. Yeah. LLM is just another component that we can use. But we need to think as a developer as, okay, what kind of state machine do we have in my application? What kind of input does it have? What kind of output does it have? What could go wrong? And not thinking like, oh, this is great. Now we can do 10 times as much as we used to do. Let's just push it to production. And and I'm telling it to a lot of people. I'm telling the same things as I was telling people 5 years ago or 10 years ago about you need to do input validation. You need to do parameterization with SQL injection things. It's basically the same, but now with a different format.
Yeah. And do libraries like LangChain4j has it some kind of system in it for these guardrails?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the most of the tooling or most of the frameworks do have something in place. I know the LangChain4j has annotation for input guardrails and output guardrails. Then these input guardrails and output guardrails will intercept that message. So if you put an input guardrails or you put multiple input guardrails in, they will intercept that message and check it. Basically a Boolean check or an integer check, like if it's a certain score, if it will pass it to the actual LLM service or to the actual. So you can basically, it's almost like aspect-oriented programming that we have. You wrap something in between. So most of these frameworks do have something in place. What these frameworks also have in place is like, okay, forcing structured output. So not just a plain sentence, but a structured, for instance, JSON output that you already force your machine into something that you can check
and validate.
So with that help, you can already do a bunch of stuff. But the rest is like there's a lot of programming around that if you want to infuse your applications with LLMs that you need to do yourself. So if anybody says we are out of work, we are not. We have more work. Trust me.
Yeah, it's not only implementing the whole thing with chat and using some models behind it. It's also the whole flow around it, which needs a lot more work than just doing some escaping of accents in an SQL injection thing.
Absolutely.
It's actually more complex nowadays to integrate this safely.
I think it's getting more complex, and it depends on what you offload to an LLM. Some things you don't want to offload to an LLM because you want to have it as a deterministic process. Maybe just a piece of code will be very more deterministic than an LLM. If you have an LLM solving things, you have to be aware that some things can go wrong. So then you have to do threat analysis. Do I want my LLM to do this? Yes or no? Because what could go wrong? And if you limit your service into only doing the essential things, the necessary things, and giving the necessary tools and functions available, then you already limit that scope. And then it's basically back to architecture and threat modeling, like what could go wrong and how much do we want to invest in that. And that is use case dependent, obviously.
So defining a clear document before you implement something about what can go wrong, which is actually a fun thing.
Yeah. No, I think
I've been in these exercises before where you just go wild. Imagine everything which can go wrong. And then try to determine, will it happen? And how bad is it?
Yep.
So actually, I think more people should do this when they start implementing something.
I think in general people should do this as part of the implementation process. Figure out your scope, what is in scope, what is out of scope, and then figure out what can go wrong. And that is for deterministic processes, as we used to program for decades, but now for non-deterministic processes just as much. Like we need to get like what could go wrong, have a threat analysis, and how much can it go wrong? And if it goes wrong, what kind of costs or effects does it have? So do we need to mitigate, yes or no? And then you can make a fair assessment of what you need to do about it. But it's always more complicated than just, hey, Copilot, vibe code this thing for me.
Okay, but the clear message is, if you think you're losing your job as a developer because of AI, actually it's not.
No,
your work will even become more complicated, and you have to think about more corner cases.
Yeah, what I think you've got two cases on AI for now, is in, hey, AI can help you generate an application, either vibe coding fully or help you as a tool, or you can infuse AI in your application that solves certain problems for that. If we look at the first one, I think we need to have more specialists, because if I tried vibe coding some stuff, and yes, it worked. And then I looked at the code, it was like, this is horrible. This is really horrible. So I had to come up with things like, hey, we're using Java 21. Please implement records as well. Don't use the onboard HTTP client and not some library from Apache or something like that. And then it's like, oh yeah, sure, you're right. So you need to know what's in there. You need to know what's happening, what's available. Sometimes it goes overboard with all sorts of exception handling that I don't want at that level, but I want at a higher level. So you need to know what you want. So there is a process before, after, but the actual coding, some parts you can let your generative AI assistant help, but you need to know what you're doing. It's knowledge. This is a tool. That same holds for if you have your LLM in your application. You need to know, you don't give it all the services and all the things in your application, and because that could go wrong.
Yeah. Things can go wrong. Keep that in mind.
Things will go wrong. Will go wrong. Absolutely. But hey, I think with all this AI and LLM infused applications, I will be into a job for a long time when you're in security. So if you want job security, I think you should go into security. Security was great.
So my name is Camille. I'm based in Switzerland, and I'm at this conference because I'm very passionate about AI, and this conference guarantees a lot of coding.
I'm Maarten, passionate about AI as well, and UpDev, which is my background. Here at the conference, mainly then to talk about sovereign AI to keep in control of the data, and because it's dev-oriented, it's a cool format.
So you both gave a presentation. What is the main thing we should remember after your presentation?
I think that doing sovereign AI, staying in control of your data, staying in control of your models, is not as hard and complex as you think it is.
We talked before about MCP and AI and security. What are some of the practices that I should follow if I'm developing an application which allows users to do something with my database, for instance, using a chat interface? Is that a good idea?
It is a good idea, but it's which database, which models, how complex to have buzzwords, the cognitive load, how complex it is to get started with it as a developer. That's something with the platform engineering concepts. We try to solve that you have an abstraction layer on the infrastructure, on the bootstrapping of these applications, that you can start with zero in between quotes, complexity, and in a couple of clicks, a couple of minutes, that you're free to go with the default configurations.
How complex is implementing AI in an application?
I don't think it's a very complex topic in itself, but I think you should follow best practices. This is very important. And also be aware of monitoring. That monitoring is very important for applications. Yeah.
Which tools can I use to do that, to achieve such a thing?
For example, the Quarkus libraries, if you want to start with it, which goes very well together with the LangChain4j libraries. And then, on local model level, for example, VLLM as a tool to deploy your models in a local Kubernetes environment, for example.
We also have an open source project called Trusty AI, and this is a project which enables you to make your LLM safer. So you have there the opportunity to include, for example, regex pattern. If you don't want a customer of yours to use your chatbot for different purposes, you can just block some words using regex patterns, and you can also make sure that your customer doesn't use your chatbot using bad language. So there are some profanity language models that you can use to do that.
I just discussed just with Brian Vermeer that, for instance, I was experimenting with a chat interface to use the Azul documentation to learn things about Java, but still I could ask it questions about Python. Is that the thing that you can prevent with this kind of regex filtering process?
Yes, so regex, there are multiple ways, but regex I would say is the easy way because you can just block some words. The reason why you should block, for example, in your use case, the word Python, is that it also costs you money, right? So you have a product about Java. You want your customer to use your chatbot, your LLM that you are hosting, etc. It costs some money to host all this, and you want your customer to solely use it for your product. So you don't want to start a huge story about Python, for example. Yeah.
It's not that I want to ditch Python, but we are in the Java space.
But I think it's very a fair question because it's so expensive. It can be so expensive. It doesn't have to be. You can use quantized model where it's less expensive, but still, you don't want to invest resources and then your customer are using to explain their problems at work and as a psychologist, this is not the goal.
And the fun part is with this new era of AI, that old components are coming back to life. For example, what you're saying that you should not ask a poem to your web shop application. Is it, for example, in the pre-guardrails, in a Kafka-like system, in a Llama stack system, that you have, for example, the good old rules engine coming back to life to do validation on input and output as well. That you don't have, for example, the famous Tesla chatbot that's saying you have to buy a Mercedes. Something that you should avoid as well.
Maybe we can agree with that, but that's another discussion. I guess you both have quite some experience with Quarkus. You have Quarkus plus LangChain4j. On the other side, you also have Spring AI. What is the difference? Is it just two tools that I can use as a developer? If I have experience with one of them, I can build whatever I want, or is one better than the other?
Quarkus is always better, right? That's the answer to it.
That was the answer I was expecting.
No, I think the main difference there is that Quarkus started in the need for cloud-native Java, where Spring with the reflection backpack, it's less flexible if you look at the cloud development, for example. So the answer was, among others, like Micronaut as well, Quarkus to have cloud-native Java. And then a lot of the Quarkus engineers worked together on the LangChain4j project as well. So both now are standards, not a custom dialect of these tools, which are built by some same engineers. So yeah, it works pretty well together there. And then you have the cloud-native aspects, the build efficiency, and all these things that come with Quarkus.
Yeah. We already mentioned with Josh Long, it's how amazing it is that this Java community has picked up these new technologies which didn't exist 2-3 years ago, And we now have all these amazing libraries like LangChain4j, Spring AI, which can do all this kind of stuff, which was Python only a few years ago.
Yeah, and now it's mainly shifting to the Java ecosystem, right?
If I want to use AI in production, should I look at Java or Python? If I have experience with Python, what can Java offer me more than Python libraries or Python tools?
I don't think it's an AI question. I think it's the default question that was there as well a couple of years ago. Why Java instead of Groovy, for example? Java with the object-oriented solutions you have around it, it's more mature for enterprise use. In the AI scenery, it's the same story now, just with other libraries to connect to AI models instead of databases. I think you should be more careful with which LLMs, which AI SaaS am I using to think about data and data leakage.
I saw the presentation, a short piece of it. It was a lot of Harry Potter theme. Is AI magic?
It feels like magic. Our presentation is magic, I would say, but no, the models themselves, as well as all the infrastructure around it, is based on human-made patterns, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's based on mathematics. In the end, it's probability. That's what is behind it. It's linear algebra, but it's not magic, and this we shouldn't forget. In my opinion, everyone should be able to understand the general concepts of LLMs, because this is becoming more important in our society. And those are not extremely complicated concepts because we have made them themselves as human. It's not like some topics in medicine, for example, that are extremely complex because we have not invented them, right? They were there already.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. Yes, education is important.
Okay.
My name is Luca Berton, and I'm just happy to be here.
Okay. You're happy to be here because you're a Java developer, you're doing something in the cloud, whatever? What?
Well, actually, my specialty is more about infrastructure, and everything is about AI nowadays. Because, I mean, things, workloads are getting more complicated, and I would love to serve better our final user.
Are you working within a big company and having a big load of applications?
Yeah, I'm working as a professional services, and I have a privilege to enter in a lot of different companies, especially on financial institution and this type of real high regulated company.
And do you see that there's a big demand of new services needed to run AI applications? Or are people still experimenting with it?
Well, my feeling is that there is a huge appetite because we all experiment a little bit with our ChatGPT, but I think that a lot of companies start to find the value. I mean, myself, I was traveling recently, and I use a lot of this generative AI to plan my trip because it was like a backpacking, and all the time I was like, hey, is it worth to go to this place in this season? It gave a lot of insight. Sometimes also it just make it out, but it's fun. I mean,
so you're more focused on the cloud side, on running the applications. Do you think Java is a good way of producing applications to run in the cloud for this kind of use cases?
Well, most of my clients actually are building on-premises facilities, and data center. I saw a huge spike in data center adoption, especially also in this GPU workload. And Java is definitely in the equation. We know that a lot of AI think more about Python nowadays, but I think that there is a space for every type of languages. Yeah. I saw a lot of Rust for API router. So there is a lot of things involved, and I have a feeling also that the complexity of the computer science in general is getting more difficult. I remember when I was studying the university, Java was my first go-to, and I started with Spring and all this basic. So, Java is always a first love.
You mentioned the GPUs, so the graphical processor units. Are they mainly used where a model gets created, or do we also need that kind of infrastructure to run applications with models?
Well, we need for both use cases, because for when the AI get created, it's actually we are doing some training, and this type of job usually require a lot of huge power, and GPUs they think in a different way, so they make very convenient. But people think that training happen only once. But real also the commercial model, it happen every 3 months, because little by little the model starts losing accuracy. So you need to retrain, and this is the business model of this type of activity. On the production side, when the model is ready to go, we distribute in production. It's called like inference, and this is different kind of problem, because sometimes the model is too big to fit inside one single GPU, so you need to kind of unite together, and there is this technique that is called RDMA. So basically you combine together the memory of different GPUs, and you link together usually high-speed networking. This is how InfiniBand and this type of technologies come into the equation. You need to have like a sub-millisecond connectivity, because you don't want to lose a computer cycle. So it's interesting to see how the industry is moving across, and you can also move in, and when there is not enough capacity, one card become 2 cards. Now I think you can host till 8 cards in one server. Plus you can also duplicate the server. So in a data center, I'm seeing batteries of server, but also prices go up, to be honest.
And these would be fantastic machines to play some kind of game on it with such GPU processor power.
Now I'm experimenting with model up to 400 billion parameters, and it requires a lot of memories. So this is a type of project that I'm involved at the moment, and it's super fun.
My name is Soham. I'm a cloud solution architect working at Microsoft. What brings me here, 2 things. It's a very AI-driven conference with lots of interesting topics, and some of them I'm working on, some of them I'm very interested in to grow my knowledge in, and I'm also speaking in one of the topics. So
I saw you a few times at conferences speaking about these amazing things you can do with AI. I think Fox Brussels, you were there. You have very interesting demos, but they were demos. We are now, I think, 1 or 2 years further. What is being used in production of these things? Are they stable and secure enough to be used?
Yes and no. I think it's a very interesting question, and I cannot answer it with an yes and no. There are a lot of use cases which are running quite nicely and securely on internet and production, and some of them are also a failure. So as in any new technology, there are failures and successes. And also added to this space of technology is very fast moving. So today what you cannot, tomorrow you can, or maybe the time I'm talking right now, I have 5 new models came out which can do 5 interesting new stuff. What I see from my role and my work with the AI startup scene within Netherlands is the B2B market is very much vibrant. B2C is still in a little bit backstage because it's a consumer facing. You need to take a lot of guardrails, security things into consideration when infusing AI into your application. But on a business to business scenario, these are much more simpler, where you are exposing to another business who are doing a very specific task with your application. And on top of that, if you concentrate your use cases mostly on the automation side, like a CI/CD pipeline, reviewing your codes, or an order comes in, whether that fulfills everything, as a claim comes in that fulfills everything. Those mundane, boring jobs which were done manually can be replaced or make efficient by AI. And those are one of the very successful use cases in the industry that I am actually seeing these days.
So without telling any names or inside information, so what you see is, like for instance, filling in insurance claims.
Insurance claims is a big area where AI is heavily used these days. Receipt processing or any retail business where there are a lot of receipts comes in and you need to do payments of these receipts. AI is heavily used. So if you think of old day OCR, so image processing, those are done now using mostly AI because doing OCR was not only costlier but also problematic because you need to train a model to see this is a receipt which looks like this. So your name has to be on the top right corner. With models like this, you can explain like that. Okay, I have 5 different distributors who send me receipts where name can be on the left, right, and top. Look for it, and it becomes easier for somebody to MVP and POC a project and see how it goes, and iteratively do better. The human in the loop is still there. So the human which was doing every check previously, now doing a few checks on exception scenarios or something.
So you have to find a specific task that you can very strictly align and say this is something which can be handled by a model.
Yeah, definitely.
So using a chat model which says they know everything, that's not the way forward at this moment, I think.
In my opinion, I don't really like the chat use cases at all, even though that's easier to show as a demo. I show that also. But I think the real use cases are different. Financial processing, in retail, in claim processing, insurance. Those are the areas where we have a lot of mundane, boring, and costly jobs, which we can make efficient. It's also time consuming from the perspective of cost. So you make it the life easier for somebody. And I think there is the power more, even though you can provide a lot of tools there. So basically, it's not just only one task, but it uses a lot of different aspects to do that task. Maybe look up the information of this distributor, look up the information of a claim or a specific country or a specific regulation. Chat is nice, chat is good, but there are a lot of points of failure. So your testing of that application will also go very, very difficult.
You had a talk, or you have a talk at this conference. What is it about all these kind of tools?
What I'm going to talk about is mostly concentrated on a journey of a developer. So let's say you found your use case, you found the framework, you found the language which you want to write this. You did that, and now what? How would you bring this to production? How would you make this scalable? More or less, if tomorrow there a new model comes up, how would you make sure that model I can replace with the model that I'm right now using? So it's more about the journey around the code. So how would you select a model? How do you compare those models? What are the things that you should take care when you select a model on a functional basis? So you do image processing, you have 10,000 choices, but on top of that, what is your token per minutes? What is a request cost, etc.?
It is one thing I should remember from your presentation. What is it?
I would say GitHub Marketplace. I don't know how many people know about this. Every time I ask this question in a conference, I get half and half response. GitHub Marketplace is free, and a large quantity of models are available there for free to use. So you get a developer key just to write code on top of it. Of course, there are limitations to how many calls you make per hour or per minute, but still for starting purpose, to kickstart your idea to code, that's the best place to start. And I'm going to show also a platform where you can, in GitHub, where you can compare 2 models next to each other. So if somebody wants to take something back, I would say take that, because that's a very easy step to take to start AI journey.
My name is Mary Grygleski, and I was also invited too about this conference. It's so amazing, and I got approached, and they said, "Would you like to come to Amsterdam and speak at this AI conference for developers?" I said, "Wow, I'd love to come to Amsterdam." And, so I said, "Yeah, let me see." Yes, and I will come. So here I am. Yes, I'm from Chicago. So yeah.
And for the people who are listening to this podcast, you're dressed for the occasion with the Fuji t-shirt.
Exactly. exactly. Yes, yeah, and I know Fujay is wholeheartedly supporting this. So when I was selecting what to wear, I said Fujay. Yes, I think I'm representing them too. So yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
So you had a talk.
Yes.
What was the talk about? I guess it has something to do with AI.
Yes, that's correct. So my talk is a bit exploratory, so to speak, but it's really with the multi-agentic, right? The agents being the center of talk of town now with AI development. And so I've been actually exploring into this space. And also previously, I was heavily involved too with event streaming and event architecture, that technique. So I really find a lot of synergies between these different techniques and technology and approaches. And also now with generative AI, with agents, I feel there are not as much talk, kind of explicitly talking about the complex cases of agents, execution, and what kind of techniques can we use. So immediately I've just been thinking, event-driven way would be definitely the way. And I'm seeing more articles or talks about it, but still not in general is a common thing. But anyway, that's what my topic is about.
So people who know AI from ChatGPT, or maybe know it from within IntelliJ that they are using it for some code feedback.
That's right.
What is the difference with an agent? What does an agent do differently than ChatGPT, for instance?
First of all, ChatGPT, right, by itself, let's say, we are kind of interacting it with like a LLM. The model is the one-shot deal kind of thing. You formulate a perfect prompt, what you need, and it sends it over to the LLM and it answers. Now, of course, too, you can also use an agent, so to speak, right? It's not confined to an AI terminology. It's a general computing type of terminology that you can apply to agents. And, even back in, the early days of Unix and a lot of Unix machines, they are really, when you think about it, it's really agents. It's kind of a functional kind of way of doing things. They are specific tasks they each carry out, and they are adaptive. That's one thing, is a key kind of property of agents. So it's finding its way into AI, and of course the marketing people are all kind of trying to, agents is the way and talk. But to me, there's still a lot of confusion still. People just, agents. They're thinking of a travel agent that book my thing, do things one-shot deal. True, there are lots of things we don't need complicated thing. Can be ChatGPT. I have a dialogue. I want to interact with an online agent, a robot. Then I can use an agent to do it. Now, the difference to me, I think, is we very often, too, maybe somehow, right, the marketing, the business likes to talk about something more direct and simpler for, in general, everybody. But in reality, we live in a complex world. We're going to be not just doing things in one step. We're booking like a flight reservation. Involves so many things, so many steps. I need to search for a schedule, all of these things, and then eventually I buy it. Then let me process the payment is another step, all these things. So that's where I'm kind of exploring in these complex cases in which we want the data to be absolutely preserved, their consistency or how they transform as they travel through different stages of the processing. So to me, I think there's a lot of potential in this space, and we need to start to talk about it and how to approach it. There are also the security side, and that explains why a lot of financial companies are not willing to do it, because a lot of things are not consistent. The LLM by nature is not deterministic. But anyway, that's what, long story short, I feel that's where it is. You can talk about agents in the simple case, single shot deal, what you need. But let's look at complicated cases, and that's where we can use complex techniques.
So you're looking at the way that you have several agents which can do something simple and how they talk to each other. I finished my task, now it's up to you, something like that. That's a bit the kind of flow you were looking for.
That's correct. Yes, that's also, it's very much, the kind of approach we can also take. It is very true. Each complex task can be broken up into smaller pieces, each be responsible by a certain type of agent. And we get many agents. Then we will need like an orchestrator agent, for example, to make sure everything is working in sync, in tandem with one another. Incorrect. That would be one way.
You've been in Java space for a long time. How do you look at all these evolutions last year with all this influence by LangChain4j, Spring AI, how AI can now be developed with Java?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. I think, yeah, definitely. I feel, Java being such a versatile programming language, and now with Java 25 just came out a few days ago, and a lot more kind of simplify of how we use it, and to really dig into its essence, right, of the language that's above, every other languages, like say concurrency, the scalability, that type of aspect. I think, right now it's really cool to see Spring AI making so much, kind of big steps forward, right? Since it started a little late, yeah, that's true, then compare with Python. But Spring AI and LangChain 4J, and there's really great effort in there from the group. All these, I think, are really good support and indicators that, Java is going to, make a comeback, so to speak, into this AI space. And maybe not even a comeback, but we really want to kind of get in and get the piece of the pie that we deserve. And also having folks that are looking deeper into it. And I actually got to talk with Frank Greco, who's a leading expert in more AI matters from the Java community, and Zoran from DeepNets. And they are doing a lot of great work. And I do see too. Yeah, they come from more of the traditional AI, machine learning. That's still a lot of bearing into the newer generative AI. So I see a lot of potential, right, in this area. And then with us being such a rich community of very smart, extremely smart folks, I see it as, like a very good potential. We can, find our space in the AI world. Yeah.
My name is Anton. I work for JetBrains, and I'm involved into products like Junie, AI Assistant, IntelliJ IDEA, and I'm kind of related to Kotlin language. So if you have seen any announcements of the new versions on YouTube, it's usually my face, yes.
Okay. What are you doing with AI within JetBrains to help developers?
Because we build tools for developers, and the whole premise of JetBrains tools is to make more efficient tools to make developers more efficient. And these days everything is all about AI, and we are looking for ways to make our tools also efficient and pleasure to work with. It's a hard problem to solve, in fact, like how AI should be integrated in such a way that it actually makes developers more productive, predictably, so that there is trust, so that the developers not just feel productive, but are actually productive. It's a long journey. It's going to be a long journey.
Is it also a bit, I think, for you, difficult to put a price on this? Because the more you call these APIs to get an answer from chat-based systems, someone has to pay for it.
Exactly.
Or it will be an extra license in IntelliJ, or it will be, who will pay for this? Or is there a way to earn money on this for you as a developer of tools?
Currently, the situation is like this. We have our ID suite, right? It has a price, it has a license, and the AI plugins have their own license. So if you're all products pack owner, when you own all the licenses for the IDs, the basic license for AI tools also comes in the box. But if you're, let's say, an advanced or more active AI user, you start using AI agents, and they are pretty hungry on consuming tokens. So we say that the ultimate package, the ultimate license, AI Ultimate, that's the name, naming is hard, is what suits for the best use of Junie. Because Junie is like it's doing 20 iterations while you would do one iteration with a normal chat, and because it's automated, you
don't see it.
You can blink and you don't see it.
How much do you trust the code that you get from such a tool? Is it just copy paste it in your production file and deploy?
No, I wouldn't, of course. Luckily, I don't have to ship the production code myself. My job is a little bit different because being a developer advocate, it's more about demos, but I still think about how to make work with these tools more predictable. And just by following the intuition, trying the different tools, not only by JetBrains, but everything that we have in the market. There's many of them, and new ones appear like every week. I developed this intuition that you should be not just telling the agent to do something, but you should first ask the agent how it will do something. Maybe it's the ideation, like you don't know how to, I don't know, create a synthesizer maybe, or a MIDI keyboard or whatever else. You don't know how to do something, and then you can ideate or like brainstorm with the model. It doesn't have to be inside the IDE itself. It can be ChatGPT, it can be Sonnet, it can be any other politically incorrect model that you can get a hold of. But then you get the ideas list, and then you can actually refine this ideas list into a specification. I have developed some prompts for myself to put these ideas into, let's say, formalized way of writing the specification of like when something, then something. It's just refinement of those things, because it actually puts this LLM into a more predictable way of handling this kind of instructions. And then I can ask the LLM to provide me a development plan or the design document for how to implement those requirements. And through this refinement, I'm keeping my hand on, or my eyes on, depends how you tell it, on the process, like how you refine the spec from the just requirement into the design that you can validate, say that it's good to be implemented, and then you can actually ask the assistant or whatever tool you use to refine the design into the task list. Why is it important? Because actually you can follow the progress by seeing that the tasks are unchecked. If you don't have that, if you let the agent just to work iteratively on this design document or the development plan, there is no sequence. You don't know where it stops and where it ends. So you have no idea what like about the progress. Did it implement something? It can hallucinate and tell you that it actually did. But
But you have this clear flow of how you use the tool, and that's actually, I think, an important message is don't just ask to get some code. It's really find your best way to use these tools to help you doing your job.
Right. I think we all, like the whole development community, needs to develop an intuition for actually using those tools, and it's the best time to do that currently because a lot of companies are still subsidizing the use of those tools, right? So current plans are at the price of $20, $40. That's not the real price. We all know that. We all know that the real price will be in hundreds of dollars per month per user. And this is the great time to actually explore, develop the intuition, and develop the understanding of how to use those tools fluently, which models work better for you, in which case, what approach would you take in depending on the task that you need to do and the scope of that task as well. Because depending on which model you select, this task list approach might not work that well or might work differently. So developing the intuition is very important right now. Doesn't matter if you're a senior developer and a junior or a junior developer. That's my main message.
Okay. A different story. Your Kotlin DevRel a bit.
Yeah.
How do you look compare Java, Kotlin? They were a bit far away. Now they're closer together, correct? Or
it depends how you look at it. Like some people like to compare the features, and if we start unchecking the checkboxes, there will be a set of checkboxes that Kotlin has, Java doesn't have, and then now there is a set of checkboxes that Java has and Kotlin doesn't have, and it's all about trade-offs, right? Language designers always say that it's about the trade-offs and philosophy. What do we want to put into the language? And I don't know, like Kotlin is a pleasure to work with. It feels very modern, but some things, I'm missing some things in Kotlin that we have in Java. And it's a very unpopular opinion. I like checked exceptions. I do like checked exceptions just for the sake of the indication that something can throw or something can fail. In Kotlin, the philosophy is a little different. Like we use exceptions only for unrecoverable situations. So this is like an unfortunate state of things. I like checked exceptions in Java. I don't like the implementation of checked exceptions in Java. Some things are missing, and this causes this bad nested code. If you have been writing the pure JDBC in the past, like open the connection, prepared statements, result set, iterate, then nested try catches to close it, and so on. And this shouldn't have been like this. Right. We've got the try with resources that improve the situation a lot. It's just one case. It's just when we work with the resources, there's more cases, and it could have been more fluent, let's say, or more handy to use. At the same time, again, in Kotlin, I don't have this problem. I sometimes prototype in Kotlin notebooks. That's kind of Jupyter notebooks, but in Kotlin, inside IntelliJ IDEA, and I do write JDBC statements there using plain JDBC API, and I have none of the ceremony around checked exceptions caused by checked exceptions. But at the same time, it's with the trade-off that I don't know if it's going to throw or not. And my view on the language is that it should be as predictive as possible, as helping as possible at the compilation time. So we do have a lot of interesting features in Kotlin that help that, but checked exceptions are not one of them. Not one of them.
That's it for part 1. In the next episode, I'll bring you more interviews covering data science, AI development tools, Java in the cloud, a behind-the-scenes look at how the conference came together, and more. Thanks for listening. Visit fujay.io for more articles and podcasts about Java, the JVM, and growing your developer career.
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.